Welcome to a new NFL episode of the Bold Take Podcast. I'm Austin Wader. You know that man next to me, the Austin Hill. Yes, we are wearing the same outfits as the college football episode. That's because we are literally recording this 2 minutes after getting done with the college
Yeah.
football one. If you have not seen it, go check out the college football episode. It'll depend whenever I get these episodes out. But if you have not seen it, highly recommend tuning in. Playoff talk. Chaos in the ACC potentially, and obviously a lot of big matchups this weekend in the SEC, the Big 12, tons of big matchups, and our teams and players of the week. Find out who won those. Go give that episode a watch. But NFL episode here. Of course, those unforeseen circumstances, shout out them because they were kicking our butt last week, so we couldn't get an NFL episode in. But we're back talking NFL here, Austin. Interesting week last week here, but let's start with it. Our biggest winner and losers, as per usual. Let's go biggest loser, because that's one we haven't talked about in a hot minute with them. But what about your biggest loser from this past week? I guess we could say 2 weeks in the NFL, really, if you want to.
Yeah, it's been a week or a couple weeks for losers, I would say. But personally, I'll go with kind of something that's fresh and on your mind from this past week. There's a couple of teams I really want to go with, but I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. Um, Look, I know it's the Ravens, but this is still a completely deflated and injured secondary, whose maybe healthiest member of the secondary was traded off, Jair Alexander. So I don't know. This was a game for the Vikings to come out and kind of stay in control, stay in the fight, and kind of show where they're at. And J.J. McCarthy just was not good in this game. Bad effort. He was also their leading rusher with 48 yards. You don't want to see that in the NFL. So this was just not a pretty game for the Vikings.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And special teams really didn't help them out either. Multiple turnovers on special teams really was ultimately their damage there. Multiple good contenders for it. I'll go ahead and say mine, and we're going to talk more about it in a second because it's just been a major fall off for them. Jacksonville Jaguars. Wow. I mean, 29-10 lead entering the fourth quarter against Davis Mills and the Texans. You got it, right? Nope. 26 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Texans get the win over the Jags. Keep their season kind of afloat, I think, especially in CJ Stroud might not even be playing again this week. So who knows? But I have Jacksonville, my biggest loser. What about biggest winner, Austin? A lot of good candidates here for this one. Who do you got?
Oh, as much as I want to keep picking my Chicago Bears because I love watching Bears football right now, I'm going to take the New England Patriots. This is a team that, look, we thought Vrabel was the right hire. We thought they were moving in the right direction. We didn't think they'd be 8-2 at this point in the season with some of the wins that they've got under their belt. But in a week where the Bills lose and they're able to beat a team like the Buccaneers, a quality team who we think we're going to be seeing in the postseason this year, man, this is an exciting looking young Patriots team.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'll take another one for you that looked impressive. I'll take the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know what it is. Sean McVay has a really hard time beating the 49ers. And I think this is just a big get over the hump there, going out to Santa Clara and really handling business against the Niners. Offense was clicking. I'll talk more about Matthew Stafford in a minute when we get to MVP stuff because he is looking incredible so far this year for the Rams. But before we dive into anything else, the big news that came out on Monday, our second coach firing of the season, Brian Daboll, fired by the New York Giants. To me, it's not a question that he was fired. I kind of expected it ever since the Broncos game. The big thing to me is Joe Schoen, the GM, who was also on the hot seat earlier in the year, is actually going to be sticking around and is going to lead the next head coaching search. Now, Austin, you have experience with this with the Bears of firing one and then hiring the next without really doing both at the same time. And you made your opinion set on when you have new pieces in the organization, kind of bringing in new guys together works on that. But your thoughts on the whole of this whole Giant scenario?
I think maybe, with the Titans, I did say that, and I do think that's kind of the better way to go is to have two guys with the same idea in mind. But I also think there are situations and circumstances in which this can work. I think in Chicago it works so well because me personally, as a Bears fan, I've loved pretty much everything Ryan Poles has done as a GM. I think he's somehow more aggressive than Ryan Pace was, but with like spends way less draft capital. He's very strategic with his trades. He makes moves to get more draft picks. He then spends draft picks to get player. You talk about the move to bring in Keenan Allen and
Yeah.
such. Um, he knows how to kind of spin draft picks and use draft picks. I love the way he's drafted for this team. He's gotten some really awesome pieces for us. So I think and Eberflus just wasn't performing. Um, I don't know if I feel that same way about this Giants team. I'll say this: if you like what the GM's building, I do like that he brought in Jackson Dart, but I think that was just the right pick at that spot to make. I think that was the pick to make at that spot in the draft. I don't really know if you can, really give him too much credit for that. Um, but if he's involved, hopefully he can get somebody that's on the same page with him. I just think you've got to stick it out for. I think if you're making this commitment to this GM, you need to go ahead and stick it out while you've got this GM and this coach. It can't just be, oh, this still isn't working. Let's get rid of the GM. That's how you get caught in the Tennessee Titans cycle.
Yep. I think so. But I mean, the main takeaway is obviously with Brian Daboll here. I mean, look, this is a hire whenever it happened. I think me and you could both agree we thought this was a good move for the Giants. Um, Really, after his first year there, it kind of just staled and just no progress was made. And everyone kept on saying, well, he's got Daniel Jones as his quarterback. That's why he's doing terrible. Then you look over in Indianapolis at an 8-2 Indianapolis Colts team led by Daniel Jones, and the Giants sitting at 2-8 with Jackson Dart, who's been dealing with concussions, but still. But to me, the thing that cost Dayball this year, pure and simple, Giants are 0-4 this season in games when they led by 10 or more points on the road. Just not finishing games out. The Broncos game comes to mind. The Bears game this past weekend comes to mind. Just didn't get it done. And I feel bad. I think he'll get another opportunity soon, but this was the right move. It had to be done.
Yeah, I like Brian Daboll. I hope he kind of lands in an OC spot somewhere because I do think he's a talented coach. But yeah, this was just a tough situation to be in. I wish they had gotten him with a Jackson Dart type guy a couple years ago, like a young
Right.
quarterback that he could develop. Look, it does suck that Daniel Jones is playing well. Um, but man, it would have been nice for him to be because I think Jackson Dart's played all right for him. But yeah, I think this was a move that had to be made at this point. It was just getting hard to defend it. Um, my kind of big gripe is that I don't know, and now Jackson Dart did get hurt in the Bears game, and he's
Right.
not.
Right.
I don't think he's slated to play this week. But I think letting him stick around once you were making that move to like the rookie quarterback, to me, maybe it's just me, kind of gives me the thought that, oh, they're gonna see how this connection goes. And I thought that
Right.
connection was pretty good. So I just don't really understand keeping him around to start the backup, the rookie quarterback, if really, you were gonna fire him now anyway.
Yeah.
If he couldn't redeem
Yeah.
himself, then I don't understand it.
Yeah, my thinking was kind of, I thought maybe they'd give him till the end of the season at this point, was kind of my thinking.
Yeah.
Was let's see how Dart's doing end of the season. And if he's progressing and they're getting along well, then I think it's good. If it's not, then let's make the move then. But they decided to make the move now, sitting at 2-8. So definitely a surprise there in the coaching change. Real quickly, we'll just talk about the big moves from the trade deadline since we didn't get to talk about them last week. The big takeaways, obviously, the Jets selling off their pieces, Quentin Williams to the Cowboys, Sauce Gardner to the Colts. Really the big trades that were made. Obviously, there was a couple other ones where Shaheed and Jacoby Myers, both wide receivers going to other places. But I mean, your thoughts from the trade deadline, what you saw, any moves that you were just stunned by, I guess, besides the Sauce Gardner one, which you can dive into as well.
I don't know. I'd say I think Quentin Williams is the one that kind of got us both because we've been talking about the Jets and are they going to tear it down? And even not just on the show, but just texting back and forth. We've talked about, does Brees Hall go? Because he says he wants to go. If you trade Brees Hall, do you trade Garrett Williams? Because that kind of tells me maybe it's time to tear it down a little bit. Do you trade Sauce? And we never talked about, do you trade Quentin Williams, which I think makes sense in a teardown, obviously, which is clearly kind of the direction they were going to go. But it was just kind of like the move you didn't really think about, but makes sense kind of deal. Um, I like the haul that the Jets got. Um, I think this is a good commitment into a rebuild for them. I saw a thing talking about Schefter thought if Joe Burrow wants to be traded this offseason, that the Bengals would do it. Um, and that would, cost a pretty penny. And he was basically saying, well, I think the Jets could be loading up to make us an offer that would get him. And to me, it's just like, sure, that's enough stuff to get him, but why would you bring Joe Burrow into this team?
Hmm.
You just traded away Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams. So basically, you're the Bengals of New York. You have no defense and you have a good offense. Joe Burrow does not want to play for the same team with
Mm,
receivers he knows
mm,
less. He'd
yeah.
rather play with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase if he's going to have no defense. Um, I just don't think that move makes sense for any of the parties involved except for the Bengals because they get a ton of picks out of it. But I think this is a commitment to a rebuild. Hit on these picks. You trust your GM, you trust your new head coach. Let them make some picks with these picks and try and build you a team. Because I'll tell you right now, with what Ben Johnson's doing in Chicago, with what Dan Campbell's doing in Detroit, I'm going to go ahead and trust Aaron Glenn coming from that
Mhm.
same background and that same team culture. I'm going to go ahead and let that guy make some picks, and I'm going to let him build this team. I think that's the right decision for the Jets, but I like their commitment to a rebuild. I think it's something they needed. And I also like the Colts' aggressiveness to go out and get Sauce Gardner. Maybe a little bit of an overpay, but to go out there and try and fortify this defense and keep yourself at the top of the AFC. To me, this deal takes them from a good team in the AFC to a contender because now they've gone out and they've gotten the corner and they've made that defense that much better. I think they really legitimized themselves at the trade deadline.
Yeah, biggest way takeaway. I agree with you on the whole Jets thing. That Joe Burrow thing, I forgot about that. Kind of threw me a curveball whenever you said it. But yeah, I agree. The Jets doing the rebuild. They just got to get quarterback figured out. That's the simple thing here. Because let's remember, they did this rebuild where they had 3 first-round picks. What they do with them? Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, and Jermaine Johnson. All three really good pieces. But the problem just was they never got quarterback figured out. And I'm not saying you have to do it this year because this year's quarterback class is looking kind of, eh, but next year's quarterback class um, looks kind of interesting, or the year after, I will say. So I get that. They just got to get that figured out for this rebuild. If they don't, Aaron Glenn's doomed before he even started with it. I will agree with you on the Sauce Gardner one. Talking about how with the Colts, I think I'd agree with you where it was like, okay, the Colts are a good 8-2 team, but are they really going to be a Super Bowl team? That deal is like okay, wow, they think they can win a Super Bowl this year.
Agree.
And the big thing that helps them, remember, Sauce Gardner signed that huge extension in the offseason, so they don't got to pay him this offseason. He's under contract for the next couple of years. And I will say, trading away the 2 first-round picks, I know they're probably going to do it. I don't know. It'll depend on what money he gets. I think this shows a commitment to Daniel Jones for sure. Is hey, you're our guy. We trade away those 2 first-round picks because we don't need to worry about quarterback because you're our guy. I think that's
Yeah.
another thing that says to me there. Now, that being said, man, Daniel Jones only signed a 1-year contract, so you got to get him re-signed this offseason. I think he will because Daniel Jones is not an idiot. He's not going to be like, why would I just leave a place where I just had the best year of my career, the most talent I played with my entire career? Sauce Gardner set there, the coaching staff, everything's good. Why would I leave that? So, yeah.
Is Daniel Jones? This is a real question we need to have. Is Daniel Jones the Kirk Cousins of his generation? A guy who
Ooh,
will just have meh seasons. Then in a contract year, he plays out of his mind and gets a huge raise.
I
You
like
think about
that.
that in the Giants. He took them to the playoffs in that last year of his rookie deal, or like fourth year
Yes.
of his rookie deal, got that huge extension and the during that free agency, and they franchise tagged Saquon. And now same thing. He's got this 1 year deal with the Colts, and he's just playing out of his mind. Is he the next Kirk Cousins? We might have to really have a conversation.
Well, if that's the case, then shout out Daniel Jones' agent because he's going to get talked about a lot more in the future if that's the case. If he's as good as, I don't know if he's as good as Kirk Cousins' agent,
Yeah, we're about to
but
find out.
we'll find out. Which, by the way, Kirk Cousins is getting all 180 million of his contract guaranteed because the Falcons did not trade him at the deadline. So Kirk's getting 180 million for doing nothing for the Falcons. So honestly, I mean, just round of applause. Well done, sir. I mean, I wish for that dream.
Yeah, no
But
kidding. To sit on the bench for an NFL team.
yeah, and get paid $180 million. Shoot, I'd do it for just $1 million. I'll be your backup back for a
No
million.
kidding.
Give me $1 million. I'll go sit on the bench. I don't mind at all. But talked enough about that with the deadline. Let's look into some of these games from this past weekend and let's address the big one out of the way. You already hinted at it. New England going into Tampa, winning 28-23, winning that game. I will say this is the true talking about it with the Patriots, a huge win, getting them to 8-2. Austin, big thing to me. This is Travion Henderson's big moment, his breakout game. We've been waiting for it since he got drafted. I think every single person in the entire that watched the draft said he's going to be a star for the Patriots if they get him out on the field. And you saw in this game over 140 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. They got him involved. And the big thing as well, when Drake May made a mistake or two, the defense rose up, gave him that 4th down stop late in the game to get the win here. You already talked a little about the Patriots. Thoughts on Tampa, I guess you could give us for this one. I had my points in about New England. I mean, thoughts on this game as a whole?
Uh, good game, close game, awesome game to see. Love to see Stephon Diggs putting his body on the line on that
Yes.
onside kick. I saw somebody talking about it. He's set for the rest of his career. He doesn't have to go out there and put himself on the line for these guys, but that's their culture, and that's kind of the way uh, they've built this team and gotten everybody to buy in. And look, I like Stephon Diggs, but he does have a little bit of a reputation to be kind of like, the drama queen on the team, causing some maybe negative attention at certain points. As great of a receiver as he's been in Minnesota, in Buffalo, in Houston, I don't know if on any of those teams they could have gotten him to put his body on the line the
That's
way he
valid.
did for Vrabel in this game, and on that play. And I think that's a great example of what this team is. But for the Buccaneers, look, I'm just not worried about the Buccaneers. They're playing teams close right now, and they're missing Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Bucky Irving. Oh, their top 3 options on offense are hurt. The fact that
Yeah.
they can play a Patriots team that's this good to 5 points, I think says again so much about Baker Mayfield and what he's been able to do in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, well, and then the next 2 games, you are at Buffalo and then you're at Los Angeles to take on the Rams. So you hope to at least get one of those and be 7-4. You don't want to be sitting there at 6-5 because at that point, I'm sure Carolina's thinking, hey, maybe our season isn't done, even though they lost to the Saints on Sunday. I already talked a little bit about, I'll get your thoughts in Houston coming back from down 29-10 in the fourth quarter with Davis Mills to take down the Jaguars. Just remember a few short weeks ago, Austin, we were talking about the Jags beating the Chiefs, and we thought, hey, maybe Liam Cohen in year 1, things are finally turning a corner. But now, losing 3 of your last 4 games, one of the only win coming by 1 point against the Raiders. Now Travis Hunter is out for the season with the LCL injury. Things are looking rough in Jacksonville. But your thoughts on the game?
I certainly don't think it's any time to give up on Liam Cohen or what he's building, but this has just been talk about like a huge hangover from this Chiefs game. I mean, no lie. This team has not looked like that team. We haven't
No,
seen that team
not even
since that
close.
game. I think that's what I'm most disappointed about is like they dug so deep and played such great football in that Chiefs game. I mean, Trevor Lawrence fell down and got
Yeah.
back up and scored a touchdown in one of the most incredible plays I've ever seen. Talk about putting it all on the line. And yet, somehow, some way, we haven't seen even a glimpse of that yet. Look, I wouldn't be so disappointed in this loss had, Davis Mills not been the guy to get the job done for him. If this was CJ Stroud out there dicing him up, then, you're like, hey, Texans finally finding their groove.
Yeah.
And look, still Texans finally finding their groove, but they're doing it with Davis Mills. This is not a game that should have been close. This should have been a Jacksonville victory. It's shameful what's happening right now. It's like they won the Chiefs game and just kind of have been done. Like that's the Super Bowl for us.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it that way. And I think you saw after the game, after the Chiefs game, they played the Seahawks and the Rams. You're like, okay, tough losses, but like those are two of the top teams in the NFC. Like Raiders, Texans, they'll get back on track. Then they struggle against the Raiders, and you're like, are things okay there? And then you have this collapse against the Texans. Things are starting to fall apart for them. Have an interesting matchup this Sunday, to say the least, there. Another one we got to talk about, Austin. Truly the stunner from Sunday. Miami stuns the Buffalo Bills. Dolphins' first win against the Bills since 2022. In a game that was really, I'll say that way, not even close. It was never even a contest. Bills offense struggled to get going. Devon Achane had a field day in this game, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. And with Miami, this comes after the whole Chris Greer firing following that Ravens game, and then the commitment to Mike McDaniel, at least through the end of the season. You wondered, well, how hard are these guys going to play the rest of the year? I think we got that question answered here in this one against the Bills.
Look, I think we saw this offense connect. It looked good, like you said. Achan had a great game. Look, this is why I like Mike McDaniels. This is why I think he's a good head coach. If the offense is playing good, he's phenomenal. I don't know how consistent this is going to be, but man, this is like all the good of Mike McDaniel. For the Bills, this is a tough loss. Hopefully, it doesn't snowball. Obviously, they're a talented team. I wouldn't really worry about this game. Look, you came in a little bit sloppy against the Dolphins. It's embarrassing. You came in, you didn't play your best football game against the Dolphins, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think the Dolphins are going to go on a crazy run to end the season, and I don't think the Bills are going to go on a crazy slide. This is just kind of one of those crazy flukes that happens every once in a while in the NFL.
Yeah, you're just sitting there after being like, what the heck? The
What
Dolphins
happened?
beat the Bills? What is going on there? I
Exactly.
will say this as a whole, the one thing that kind of scares me for Buffalo, Josh Allen just doesn't look like he trusts any of his receivers. It really looks like he doesn't trust any of them. And it's not that I don't think he does. He might trust them, but it just doesn't look like it. I mean, I watched Dan Orlovsky do a great take talking about how simple reads are open, but he just doesn't trust the receiver and tries to make a bigger play out of it. And it's just that's my only real concern with Buffalo. The main thing I would also say is the run defense needs to be better for them because the run defense has been a bit of an issue. Uh, so yeah, that was the big stunner there. We talked a little bit about it with the Rams beating the Niners. So I guess the main one we'll talk about next, because we're going to talk about the Seahawks in a little bit. What a matchup they have this Sunday against the Rams. We'll talk more about that. Let's dive into Sunday Night Football with the Chargers beating the Steelers 25-10. I don't want to talk about this game, but I know it was a pivotal game this week, so I have no choice but to talk about it. Look, Chargers just straight away shut down the Steelers offense. Aaron Rodgers played the worst game of his career. I know you enjoyed this. If you bothered watching this, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't.
I
Wouldn't blame you
didn't,
at
but I
all.
did enjoy it. Look, if you watch college football episode, I gave a shout out to longtime listener Trevor Renfro. Look, this is another conversation that came up. We were talking about Justin Fields and kind of what a roller coaster it's been for him. And I'll just say it bluntly. What Aaron Rodgers has done this year for the Steelers, I think Justin Fields could have done, and the team
Mm-hmm.
would be exactly the same. They'd still be 5-4. He Aaron Rodgers has not made so much of a difference that he is that much better than Justin Fields. Uh, it just perplexes me the crazy financial and team commitment that they've made to this washed up lunatic. Uh, he's had one of the most debilitating injuries in the history of sports in his age 38, 37 season when he tore his Achilles. And after that, you're going to give him a huge 2-year contract, shoo Justin Fields out the door. Um, Look, I don't blame you for letting Russell Wilson go, but just to like not even think about bringing Justin Fields back as a backup or anything, just to, I don't, I didn't understand it. This is one of those games that makes you realize it. It's like he played so bad in this game. What I just have not understood what the Steelers saw in Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you can join this household that I currently live in. Everyone in the household agree with that statement. I will say this as a whole with the Justin Fields thing. I think entering the offseason, I thought it made sense. You know, he's a 26-year-old quarterback. Plus, I don't think anyone was going to offer him a giant amount of money for it. So I thought this is an easy re-sign. If you want to sign Rodgers, you at least have a quality guy in Fields, you know, that they can compete with each other and you'll get the right guy on the field. Um, then the Jets signed him. When the Jets signed him, I thought, okay, it must have been like a huge contract or whatever, you know, that they signed him to, like a 4-year deal, just a 2-year deal. And I was like, we couldn't give that to Justin Fields. We couldn't give
Yeah.
that to a 26-year-old quarterback in a position where we have been begging for longevity at the position. It's just, yeah. But back to the game. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, this is the first game this year where I look at and truly just say, it's all on Aaron Rodgers. Because in the other games, it was him, but it was also the defense has been terrible.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to run the ball. Jalen Warren's not getting involved, this and that. No, Aaron Rodgers just flat out sucked this game. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He just was terrible. He looks scared to get hit. He's getting the ball out of his hands in 0.2 seconds, not even close to letting routes develop at all. And then fourth down in the red zone late in the game. No, let's not try to pick up the first down. Let's throw it into double coverage to DK Metcalf in the corner of the end zone because that's going to work out most of the time. And it's just, yeah, it was a rough game. And I'm going to be honest with you, Steelers are sitting here 5-4. Ravens obviously won against the Vikings. You brought that up earlier. Ravens are one game back of this division. Ravens are one game back, and you look at the rest of the Steelers' schedule. Bears, the Bengals this week, Bears, Bills, Ravens, Dolphins, Lions, Browns, and Ravens. I'm going to be honest with you. I see maybe 3 wins there. I don't see 4, in all honesty. You could maybe beat the Bengals this week, maybe beat the Dolphins, probably beat the Browns. But I don't see any more after that. In all honesty, I really don't see it. It's just disappointing there for the Steelers. So we'll see what happens with the Bengals. For the Chargers, though, given all the injuries on the offensive line with Joe Alt being out for the year, the fact that this team is 7-3 and one game back of the Broncos in the AFC West, I honestly give Jim Harbaugh a heck of a lot of credit because this is probably one of his best coaching jobs with the amount of injuries they have suffered on this team.
Yeah. Agreed.
But not about this one. Last game we're going to talk about Eagles and Packers on Monday night. And let's just say it like it was, ladies and gentlemen. This was disgusting. This was disgusting. 10-7, Eagles beat the Packers. Hideous football game. Neither offense really could do anything. My biggest takeaway from this, not that the Eagles offense struggled. This is the second week in a row this Packers offense, Austin, has just looked terrible. No consistent rhythm they're getting in. Jordan Love has really looked rough the last 2 weeks. And you're like, okay, against the Eagles, that makes sense. Eagles, good defense, whatever. You did against the Panthers last week at home. Both these games at home in Lambeau, and you're not getting them done. Now 5-3-1. Lions in first place in that division now. This is just a rough game as a whole for both sides. So thoughts on this game?
Yeah. Look, it was a slow, kind of grinded out defensive game. I'll just say what I'm most disappointed about in this game. I lost a fantasy football game because of the way this game ended. And that's what I'm going to take my gripe out on because this game was so boring that I actually
Yeah,
don't care
that's
about it.
fair. That's fair.
I lost a game by 3.1 points. I had Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith.
Oh,
I lost 165 to 162. I had Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Jake Elliott, and the Eagles defense in this game. I had to score like almost 50 points to get back to even cut it this close. But we cut it to 3 points, and all I need, because of the forced fumble from the heavens, all I needed was our field goal system works that on a field goal, you get zero point 0.1 points for every yard. So I need a 30 plus yard field goal, and I win. Guess what? It's like a 53-yard field goal to go up 6 points, and we're going to throw it on 4th and 6. What are
yeah.
you talking about, Nick Sirianni?
Yeah.
Kick the one, even if I didn't have Jake Elliott on my fantasy
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
kick a field goal and go up 6 with 30 seconds left or whatever. But no, you're going to throw it to the end zone, not even throw for a first down, just heave it to the end zone. I love you, Jalen Hurts, but what on earth are you doing?
Yeah.
Kick a field goal and go up 6. This Packers offense can't score. I was perplexed. And of course, it has to lose me a fantasy football game. Uh, and I fall to 7-3 instead of 8-2 because Jake Elliott's not allowed to kick a well within his range field goal.
Yeah, that was my big takeaway late in that game. Whenever they first came out at first, I was like, okay, they're just drawing them off sides, call a timeout, kick the field goal, whatever, no problem. Then I saw him sound like, wait, what? Why are you snapping this football? What are you doing? What are you doing? And then I would say the same thing to Green Bay prior to that. Um, you get to a 4th and 1. Instead of maybe calling a timeout and getting the right play in, you try to sprint up to the line and just call an inside zone that Philly literally called out. You can literally
Yeah.
hear on the microphone Philly players say, inside zone this way, inside zone this way. And they locked up the play and he ultimately fumbled it. So poor coaching from both sides in this game. But like I said, it was so boring. I really don't want to talk about it anymore. So let's move on from it. Next thing, really quick before we dive into the games this week, Austin, is some of the surprise stuff I was talking about. We were going to do it last week, but obviously we didn't get to record last week. So as of right now, who are you giving MVP to at this point in the season? We talked a lot about Baker Mayfield at the start, but it's now pivoted to other people. Who do you like for MVP right now?
I like Jonathan Taylor personally, but if I have to pick a player, and by player I mean quarterback, that is going to get the award, I'd take Matthew Stafford right now. I don't think Baker Mayfield's done anything worse, but I think the losing is starting to kind of hurt a little bit, even though he's still playing out of his mind. And Matthew Stafford is having like a for real career renaissance right now. We're talking about a guy who we were thinking might retire because of all the back injuries
Right.
uh, in the year last year. And now he's playing like prime Matthew Stafford. I'd probably give it to my MVP vote would be for Jonathan Taylor, but if I have to pick a quarterback because that's the only players who win the MVP, I would pick Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and add in this. I have the stats, Austin, to compare Jonathan Taylor through the first 10 games of the year and Adrian Peterson's MVP year in 2012. These are their stats through the first 10 games of the year for both of them. Let's look at Adrian Peterson. 1,283 yards from scrimmage, 7 total touchdowns, and his team was 6-4 at the time. Not bad, not bad. Jonathan Taylor, 1,399 yards from scrimmage at this point, 17 touchdowns, 10 more than Adrian Peterson had at this point, and he's on the team with the tied for the best record in the NFL. Come on. If it's going to be anybody, it's going to be him if he keeps up this pace for what it could be. But like you said, it's a quarterback award, as unfortunate as it is to say. I would agree. Matthew Stafford, like I said, I think it was this offseason, really, where I came into it. I was going to pick the Rams to be in the Super Bowl. I felt so confident, but the back injury stuff made me pull off it at the last minute. Matt Stafford, my gosh, just the efficiency really since the Philadelphia game. I mean, since the Philadelphia game, he's got like 21 touchdowns, like 22 touchdowns to zero interceptions since that Philadelphia game. They have just been on a tear with him. Like I said, it's been a true renaissance in a year where we thought, this is probably it for Matthew Stafford. We'll see what he can do this season. And then it's, worry about the future. Forget about the future. Worry about right now. He could probably lead you to the Super Bowl with how good he is playing right now for the Los Angeles Rams.
Agreed.
But that was the main one. My next one, Austin, this is a true surprise one.
Ooh.
I was going to give you a heads up and it would have been 5, but I want you right now. Who are your top 3 teams in the NFL at this point in the season? This one could be multiple different teams for this because of how wide open the NFL season's been. So I'm very intrigued. What do you have off the top of your head?
Oh, my top 3 teams. Look, right now, I'd be leaning to say, tough. This is tough. I think for sure I'd say Seattle 3, LA Rams 2, Indianapolis Colts number 1.
Ooh, going with both NFC West teams in the top 3. Why those two over the Patriots and the Broncos, out of curiosity, if you don't mind me asking?
I think with the Patriots, to me, it's just a young team. And I think that as we get into later in the season, we get into some of these bigger games, maybe it comes down to playoff games. I think you'll start to see some of that age kind of show itself. They'll be a little bit younger, a little bit more outclassed. Um, and then when I look at Denver, they are 8-2. But my big thing with Denver is they haven't always had the prettiest games. They've got a great
Yeah.
defense,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe in, but they haven't had the prettiest games. I don't really think I've seen a game where Seattle or the Rams have lost this season where I was like, wow, they just got completely outclassed.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, these two teams have played really, really good games all season. And same with the Colts. Like I just think, tied, like you said, tied for the best record in the NFL. I think to me they look like the best team right now. They've got the should be MVP in the backfield. They've got Daniel Jones playing the best season of his career. It's really hard to deny what they're doing in Indianapolis right now.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I was just double checking because mine is the same 3 teams, just a slight change in the order with mine. I have the Rams at 3, Seahawks at 2, and I got the Colts at number 1 on mine. My main thing that's helped me with the Seahawks is the main thing that's helped me is how good they've been on the road under Mike McDonald. They've been such a good road team under him. They dominated. And also, I will say, having a more dominant ground game compared to the Rams, I think could also be a difference as well in this. But I could see it anywhere with those 3 teams. I agree with you on the Patriots and the Broncos. The Broncos are just flat out. They might be the worst elite team, record-wise in the AFC since the 2020 Steelers.
Yeah.
The record's majorly inflating some major flaws so far this year. And for the Patriots, I think they're good. It's hard for me to envision them being a major contender this year. So that's our little preview there. USO, what do y'all think in the comments below? What are your top 3 teams in the NFL? Who's your MVP candidate right now? Is it someone different from us? Let us know in the comments. But let's dive into the games this week, Austin. And again, we're only talking about Thursday Night Football because I can put it on TikTok. So let's just get that out of the way. Patriots hosting the Jets on Thursday Night Football. Look, the Patriots look like they're on a roll, but the Jets, Austin, 2 wins in a row after that winless start. I'm not saying they're an elite team, but they're picking up some momentum here to try to gain a little bit of confidence in year 1 under Aaron Glenn. So probably going to end up going with the Patriots. They're currently a 12.5-point favorite here, but what do you think about this game?
Look, I think the Gents are finding momentum, but this is not the kind of game they win under almost any circumstances. I think something has to go catastrophically wrong for the Patriots to lose this game. They look good. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think they could definitely keep it inside the spread, plus 12.5. But I think the Patriots will win this game.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I'm gonna 100% pick the Patriots with you. Like I said, I think like late touchdown, Jets cover the spread, like last second touchdown
Yeah.
maybe for. And that's all the time I'm gonna spend because Austin, there are so many good NFL games this weekend. We gotta dive into them. First one in the noon slate: Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Buffalo Bills over there in Orchard Park. Both teams looking to bounce back from some losses last week. Both are 6-3. Neither of them want to fall to 6-4. Who do you like in this one? This is a matchup of two great quarterbacks. Which one comes out on top?
Well, I think from everything I've read, it's doubtful Godwin's going to be back, doubtful Irving's going to be back, and I'm pretty sure Evans is on the IR right now.
Yeah.
So none of those guys are going to be back. This game's in Buffalo. I think it'll be a close game, an exciting game, because that's how Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers have done it this season. But I think the Bills will defend that home field and get the job done.
Yeah, I want to believe in Baker, and like just some part of me thinks that they could win the game, but they need Bucky Irving back. Bucky Irving is the thing that is so key for their offense that makes them so much more dangerous if they can get him back. And like you said, as far as I know, I don't think he's going to play. So if no Bucky Irving play in this game, then I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills to win at home in this one. At least that's just what I think here. Other intriguing one: two teams that are looking to kind of keep up maybe a trend, bit of a surprise this year. 7-3 Chargers taking on the 5-4 Jaguars in Duval for this one. Can Jacksonville get any momentum back, Austin? And for the Chargers, look, this is an interesting matchup because of all the injuries on the offensive line. You've got running back that's still a disaster there. Which team continues their rise in the AFC with this one?
Man, I think the Chargers probably win this game. They're in a good groove and a good rhythm. I'd like to see the Jaguars bounce back. I hope we can see them play a little bit of a closer game. I think it'll be close, and I think they'll put up a good fight because it's at home. But I'm going to take the Chargers. I just don't know what to expect out of this Jaguars team right now.
Yeah, see, that exact reasoning is why I'm going to pick the Jaguars to win this game. I don't know
That's
what I'm going to
fair.
expect. So, you know what? They're at home. They've lost a couple that game to the Texans. You think, man, is it going to go any lower this week? Nope, they're going to win in Duval. Somehow, and you're going to be like, what even is this team? Like, what are they? Are they good? Are they terrible? We don't really know. Let's dive into the afternoon games. Austin, two really good afternoon games. Let's start with one that I don't think is good as the other one. Chiefs heading to Denver to take on the Broncos in this one. Obviously, let's say like it is, if the season ended today, the Chiefs would be out of the playoffs. They would not make the postseason, yet they are still the Super Bowl favorites. Make it make sense, ladies and gentlemen. But the head into Denver, look, Broncos are 8-2, Austin, but like me and you said, no one really looks at them at the 8-2. They're that much better than the Chiefs and them in this matchup. So trying to get a signature win here in this season for the Broncos, do they get it against the Chiefs on Sunday afternoon is the question.
I want to take the Broncos because it's on their home field. But look, the Chiefs offense has really found a rhythm, having that solid number one option in Rashee Rice back on the field. I know because he is aiding my fantasy team so much uh, since he's come back from suspension, never gets suspended again. Um, but I'm going to take the Chiefs in this game. I think their offense is flying well. I think they'll be able to get one over on this solid Broncos defense. And I don't know that their offense, Denver's offense, will be able to keep up.
Big key for me, no Pat Surtain. No Pat Surtain in this matchup. No, he's not covering Rashee Rice. That's a problem for me. I already lean with the Chiefs in this. That ultimately gave me the reason to pick the Chiefs in the matchup. I just think they'll go in. It'll be an ugly, low-scoring game, but I think the Chiefs will find a way to win in the fourth quarter and get the win there. Make this AFC West a little bit more interesting. And then don't forget, these two teams play on Christmas night in Arrowhead Stadium. So that
Wow.
could be a big matchup depending on what's going on Christmas Day there. The other one, Austin, dare I say, what am I saying? Dare I say, it is the best matchup of this week 11 slate. 7-2 Seahawks heading to Los Angeles, take on the 7-2 Rams in this matchup. Austin, See, the Seahawks haven't trailed since week 6. The Rams have not trailed since week 6. Two teams that look incredible right now in this NFC West going head to head. My goodness, what else could you want for a matchup here? Who do you have for this one? This is really a coin flip for me. This is tough.
Yeah, it's a tough game. I think we're going to see awesome offense in this one. I'd take the over 48.5. I really like the two offenses that we're going to see going head to head. But look, I'm going to take the Rams. I'm going to stick to my guns here. I put the Rams ahead of the Seahawks in my top three teams just a second ago. I'm going to go with the quarterback. I trust a little bit more. The offense, I trust a little bit more. And the defense, I think, is a little bit more exciting. I'm going to go with the LA Rams.
I think that's a very fair point. But kind of similar to yours, I had Seattle at 2, and part of my reasoning is how good they have been on the road under Mike McDonald. So for that reason, I'm going to pick the Seahawks to win this game. But this is a coin flip. These look like probably the best two teams in the NFC right now, and a matchup that I think we obviously will see again, and maybe even a matchup we could see a third time come the postseason. I mean, I really think that with how good both of these teams have looked. But Sunday Night Football, another really good matchup here. 6-3 Detroit Lions heading on the road to take on the Philadelphia Eagles at 7-2. Philly 7-2, but again, I think everyone's still not that high on them, especially offensively with that. But the Lions feels like they are clicking on all cylinders the last couple of weeks, except for that Vikings game. Really kind of came out of nowhere, I think, is still what some people talk about. But these are the two teams in the preseason that were probably 1-2 in the NFC. And now they're both playing some good football right now. Who gets their statement win on Sunday Night Football?
Lions got everything going for them. They're looking really good. They're going to give the Eagles a test. But to me, I think it's just as much of a testament that the Eagles have been able to kind of through the struggles of the season, been able to find ways to get it done. They've been able to lean on guys and get the job done, even though it hasn't been the prettiest, best win. I think right now the gritty kind of football game suits the Eagles at home. I think their defense does enough to make the game gritty, physical, and ugly again. And that's the kind of games the Eagles are winning this year. So I like the Eagles to win this game.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just get it out of the way. Say it with me. I don't doubt Dan Campbell. Lions are winning this game. No questions asked. No, actually, in the matchup, I think it'll be interesting for both offenses. This is another game. Over 46.5 is one I would really consider here. Two very good offenses, especially I think if the Eagles can get going. But I really like this Lions pass rush, though. The way they have been with Aiden Hutchinson, I think they can cause some mischief against Jalen Hurts in the pocket there. Now, if it comes down to a tush push at the end, I don't really know how that would go for Detroit in this one, but I'm hoping it doesn't come down to that. I'm going to pick the Lions to get the win on the road in Philly. And then another game that we are only picking because it is in prime time, Monday Night Football. Cowboys heading to Vegas to take on the Raiders. Can the Cowboys – this is a game make or break to really save the Cowboys any chance of their season being alive. They need this if they want any chance. Raiders at 2-7 are just looking to play spoiler at this point, trying to see what they can get out of Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, and their key pieces. What goes down in Vegas on Monday night?
The Cowboys, they're going to give a good fight, good hard fight. Their offense is playing good. They should blow the Raiders out. But look, everything this team should have done this season just hasn't really happened. I'm going to take the Raiders to win this game. I think Ashton Genty has the best game of his career against this Cowboys defense, and the Raiders win.
Yeah, they should have signed Micah Parsons to its extension. They did not do it. They should have beaten the Cardinals on Monday night in their last game. They did not. And you literally took the words out of my mouth that I was going to say that this was going to be the best game of Ashton Genty's NFL career so far against this Cowboys defense. I think it's a Monday night. Cowboys have everything to play for. Another one where I'm contemplating the over. I think this could be a really fun game. But yeah, why not? Give me the Raiders at home. Give their fans something to build on for the rest of the season. Just give them a little boost. I think it's something good for them.
Yeah.
But that is it for our game picks. Last segment here, the bet of the week, Austin. A lot of intrigue on the board. What do you like for your bet of the week here in week 11?
Uh, I was looking at some games. I was looking at over-unders, and I wanted to see somewhere I might go under. And I'm going to look at one where I don't know what we're going to see out of these two teams. With the way the Packers have played the last couple of weeks, their offense hasn't been good. And with what's going on with the Giants, they can't trust Russell Wilson. Jackson Dart's out. They're going to start Jameis Winston. I take the under 43.5 this game. Literally,
Ooh.
who knows what you're going to see from these two offenses? You could very well see another 10-17 ball game, or 10-7 ball game because Jordan Love, look, had it just been the Eagles game, like you said earlier, then you could say Eagles defense is good. It happens. But he also just played terrible against the Panthers. So really, it's any defense. And the Giants have a better defense than the Panthers, in my opinion. They've got a way better pass rush. And so if you just get home to Jordan Love, he's not going to be able to make throws. So I think we're going to see a really low scoring, ugly game. I like under 43.5 in this Giants Packers game.
All right. I'll tell you what. I like that under pick, and I think that's fair. Don't forget, famous Jameis scheduled to start that one. So it's going to be entertainment with Jameis. Because like we say, ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea what you're going to get week in and week out from Jameis Winston. That's why you have to tune in for it. But for my bet of the week, I went with the Lions. The surefire Lions lost the week before. They're so great following a loss. Covered easily for the win there. But you know what I think, Austin? Life is too short to bet the under is a line I haven't said in a hot minute. And I look at Buccaneers and Bills. Give me over 48 in Buccaneers and Bills. I think this game's going to be a shootout in Orchard Park with these two quarterbacks. A lot of points are going to be on the board. Over 48 is my official bet of the week. Come on, Josh and Baker. Give me a great classic QB duel. I need it. Let's go. But that's our bets of the week. You got the under in Packers and Giants for Austin Hill here. You've got the over in Buccaneers and Bills for me. That is going to do it for this NFL episode of the Bold Take Podcast. Again, if you've not done it already, and again, who knows if you have, depending on when I get these uploaded, who knows. But if you haven't, go give the college football episode a watch or listen, however you view our podcast. Talk a lot about the playoffs, some conference chaos scenarios. My goodness, you'll want to tune in. A lot to catch up on there. But ladies and gentlemen, it's November. This is the point where seasons turn in college football and in the NFL. Where else would you rather be than right here subscribing to the Bold Take Podcast for it all? That's Austin Hill. I'm Austin Wader. We want to thank you for watching.